I don't even know how to put it into words right now, other than the fact that, like, we've just been waiting. I've been waiting so long to hear that the U.S. State Attorney's Office is actually on my side, you know, and not working with the perpetrator like they had been. So, like, just to hear that they're standing up for the victims, you know what I mean? It's just, like, so overwhelmingly it's past due, you know? But it's just emotional, and it's happy. It's all those things at the same time.
Sorry about that. That was my phone. Okay, I'm rolling. Great.
Okay.
So I was just asking if you could just say that one more time and just kind of maybe set up, since her question won't be heard.
Right. Yeah, during the press conference, the fact that they... I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, the fact that they set up what you were going to say.
Like a hotline number? Is that what I should say?
Yeah, or like a number for victims to call.
Okay. During the press conference, the fact that they gave out a number to call, a 1-800 number for all the victims that still haven't come forward, that have been sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein, just speaks such volume on, you know, their persistence to really, you know, for justice to be served. And that's amazing.
Was there anything else in the press conference that you heard that you can talk about that you, like, what touched you? I saw you get kind of really, like, choked up a couple times.
Yeah, during the press conference when he was just explaining that, you know, the exploitation of children is not the child's fault, that it's the perpetrator's fault, and that for once Jeffrey Epstein is being held accountable for his actions, and the blame isn't being put on the victims anymore. They're not saying, oh, these girls came from broken homes and they would have done that anyway, or all the excuses that we've heard for so many years just because we came from broken homes and, you know, didn't have the luxury lifestyle that Jeffrey had, that we were the problem on why this happened. So for the first time, I've heard that, you know, in the press conference, he actually spoke for us, the victims, and said, this is not the child's fault. This is a priority to keep people like this off the streets. And this is just the first time that I've personally heard somebody stand up for us, for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein.
And how did it make you feel?
Oh, I can't even put it into words right now. It's just so emotional, so over happy, just so happy.
Did you ever think this day would come?
No, definitely didn't.
If you could just put my question into...
Okay, no, I definitely did not think this day would ever come. There's been so many times I've said that Jeffrey Epstein will never go to jail. He has too much money, he's too well connected. So when I got the phone call that he was actually placed in handcuffs, you know, I just thank God that finally justice is being served, no matter who you know or how wealthy you are. It's, you know, taking a predator off the street finally, after years afterwards. So, okay.
So can you tell me where you're going right now?
We are going
We're supposed to go to
Hold on
Canal
one second,
Street.
sorry.
Now let's see and go over it, make a left on
You.
Okay. So, we're actually going to his arraignment. Jeffrey...
Do you mind,
conference for Jeffrey Epstein for the unsealed indictment. And I don't even know how to put it into words right now, other than the fact that, like, we've just been waiting. I've been waiting so long to hear that the U.S. State Attorney's Office is actually on my side, you know, and not working with the perpetrator like they had been. So, like, just to hear that they're standing up for the victims, you know what I mean? It's just, like, so overwhelmingly it's past due, you know, but it's just emotional and it's happy. It's all those things at the same time.
Sorry about that. That was my phone.
You gotta go down. You gotta go under.
My name is Shantae Davies.
How close can you get? How close can you get? How close can you get?
And Shantae, your testimony was quite powerful, and I also saw you grew visibly really upset while he was spoken. Are you two are related?
She's my younger sister, yeah.
And how did you two come to be part of it?
After I'd already been working for Jeffrey and Glenn for a certain amount of time, they asked to meet my younger sister. She was 17 at the time. And they went on from there.
You two still have a relationship?
Absolutely.
Can you explain a bit of what you said in court? As you said, it was very powerful. Can you repeat for the people out in the public? There were no cameras in the courtroom. Can you just repeat what happened to you in the home, please, for the public? If you could either read your statement or paraphrase your statement. Thank you very much.
So, you know, it starts in the middle of what was said, but just to answer what you asked. On my third or fourth time meeting Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, they brought me to Jeffrey's Island for the first time, and on that first night there, Sarah Kellen came tapping on my door late at night to inform me that Jeffrey was ready for another massage. My instincts told me this didn't feel right, but I got up and I followed her to a villa I hadn't yet seen, Jeffrey and Ghislaine's villa. I began my massage, trying not to let him smell my fear and obvious discomfort. Before I knew what was happening, he grabbed onto my wrist and tugged me towards the bed. I tried to pull away, but he was unbuttoning my shorts and pulling my body onto his already naked body faster than I could think. I was searching for words, but all I could say was a meek, "No, please stop." But that just seemed to excite him more. He continued to rape me, and when he was finished, hopped off and went to the shower. I pulled my shorts up and I ran as fast as I could back to my own villa, my feet bloody from the rocks. I cried myself to sleep that night. I spent the next 2 weeks in a hospital, vomiting until I was almost dead in a Los Angeles hospital.
How did you feel reading that to the court today? How did it make you feel?
It was both empowering and infuriating to know that the person who I needed to hear those words is not here to hear them.
You were prepared to testify if it had gone to trial?
Absolutely.
Do you think that's
Do I feel his death is inappropriate? Absolutely not. It gives nobody justice, and it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. It makes me sick to my stomach that there's perpetrators out there that obviously helped him in many ways for a very long time, and they're still out there with no punishment.
How empowering has it been to meet you?
I'd say it's pretty empowering. It's also pretty upsetting to see how many lives he's devastated and to see how long this went on for and nobody did anything about it.
Mr. Boyes, we saw you speaking to the U.S. Attorney. What did he tell you, and how sure are you that they will pursue Ms. Maxwell?
Obviously, the U.S. Attorney Office is not telling anybody what it's doing. But we believe that the case against Ms. Maxwell is a very strong case. We know that the U.S. Attorney's Office is very committed to pursuing Epstein cases.
Mr. Edwards, you have many clients here. Is there anyone else who'd be willing to speak and share their story as well?
I don't think at this time. One, they're cooperating with what is still an ongoing investigation. It obviously took tremendous courage for any of them to speak in the courtroom today, and I think that it was a monumental moment in the life of crime victims and the progress that we've made over the last 10 years in the crime victims movement. I really appreciate everybody who has covered this from beginning to end. It's only because of you that it sheds light on the problem, so we do appreciate that.
The last time, you spoke about powerful men and fear, and how do they feel with powerful men and fear?
How have our clients dealt with powerful men and fear? Well, there were many powerful men involved, mainly Mr. Epstein, who kept our clients in fear and kept their voices silent. But they're not silent now, and it's unfortunate that he's not here to face the consequences of his actions. Hopefully others are, and more charges should be brought. I mean, that's our feeling, and we believe that that's the direction in which the case is going.
Now, Ms. Jeffrey has been involved in a long suit, also civil suit with Ms. Maxwell. I'm curious now she's here if she has any comments about being in New York, speaking on the record today in the court.
Virginia is going to make a brief statement here, and I just want to say for all of the victims, I mean, what you witnessed here today was true bravery at the highest level. For them to come together and get in court together and give these testimonials is so significant, and the public should pay attention to this, and the other perpetrators who were involved should be stopped. So Virginia's just going to make some brief comments.
First of all, I just want to say thank you all for turning out and putting some limelight on this horrid discussion that we've had to deal with the last 2 decades nearly. I want to start by saying it's not how Jeffrey died, but it's how he lived. And we need to get to the bottom of everybody who was involved with that, starting with Ghislaine Maxwell and going along the lines there. I was recruited at a very young age from Mar-a-Lago, and entrapped in a world that I didn't understand, and I've been fighting that very world to this day, and I won't stop fighting. I will never be silenced until these people are brought to justice. So thank you all very much.
What do you make of Prince Andrew's denials? Can you comment on that? You said you won't be silenced. He has been outspoken.
He knows what he's done, and he can attest to that. So
can you repeat that? We can't hear you. Step up.
He knows exactly what he's done, and I hope he comes clean about it. Thank you.
With respect to Prince Andrew or anyone else that has made statements, gratuitous statements, if anyone wants to come over here and talk with us and answer real questions that the victims have and that we have on their behalf, we welcome that invitation. I personally extended that invitation to Prince Andrew multiple times. Anytime, we are ready, and we have a lot of questions for him.
What do you make of his adamant denials?
They're just bland statements that are not responding to anything. We have specific, pointed questions, and if he really wants to help, then we want his help.
Anybody can deny things without printed statement. It's a different thing to come here, answer questions, under oath, subject to cross-examination. Those are the kinds of answers we're eventually going to get.
So boys, I noticed that all of your clients mentioned international sex conspiracy, sex trafficking ring, included Ms. Maxwell in each of their statements. Do you have any sort of information or designs on Ms. Maxwell, prosecution against Ms. Maxwell, but the statements today declined to impress upon the judge that this should go forward to a judge?
As you know, we brought a lawsuit against Ms. Maxwell successfully back in 2015. What I said is in 2015 we brought a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit against Ms. Maxwell and secured a very substantial recovery. In that lawsuit, we detailed in evidentiary form contemporaneous documents and depositions Maxwell's participation in sex trafficking. We believe that is a roadmap for a potential criminal prosecution.
Well, that's the first time that I've heard them say that. I don't know whether there's any evidence to the contrary. Certainly looks like a suicide to me. The fact that he prepared a will only 2 days before the suicide also is very curious. Makes it seem like there was some intent to fraudulently transfer assets. I mean, that's at least what it looks like on his face. So we're investigating this for our own reasons, the same way that they say that they're investigating this. But either way, we're going to get answers to this one, it looks like. On the other question, there are many people that know many things, and like Mr. Boyd said, it's easy to deny and say I wasn't good friends with him and I didn't know much, but nobody has come over and said, let me sit down and answer all of your questions. So informally, that invitation is extended, and formally, it will also be extended.
Jeffrey Epstein started his targeted grooming and manipulation of me as a child when I was in New York City for a school trip. I first came into contact with an assistant of Epstein's while on a high school drama club field trip to New York City. I was invited to his home. There, his assistant took a photo of me and then later reached out to me inviting me to Epstein's ranch. I only knew Jeffrey Epstein for 5 days. During a trip to Zorro Ranch, his massive compound surrounded by government land in the New Mexico desert. Epstein took my sexual innocence in front of a wall of framed photographs of him shaking hands and smiling with celebrities and political leaders. I was only 15 years old. After, he wanted to talk with me about what had just been my first sexual experience and directed me to take time to myself that night to cry. He said that would be beneficial to my growth. After this, we had a long talk about my future goals. I told him that I wanted to go to college to study biochemistry. He said that he wanted to give me money for college. He asked me how much money I thought he should give me. At 15 years old, living in northern Michigan with my mother, stepfather, and grandfather, I had no idea how to respond to a billionaire who had just raped me. I was being asked to quantify in monetary terms what had been taken from me. When I agreed to $5,000, he smiled and wrote a check made out to the college I so desperately wanted to attend and was not sure my parents could afford. During my trip to New Mexico, I had flown on his jet, which I later learned had been nicknamed the Lolita Express. While he was giving me a tour of the bedroom, he told me to get down and feel the carpeted floors of the room. He then asked if I noticed anything special about the floor, and I responded that it felt very around him on the floor while he slept in the bed. I remember wanting to ask him why he would want that. However, I restrained myself out of fear of sounding like the child I was. Later, when I chose a seat on the jet, Jeffrey told me that is where his good friend Bill Clinton always chooses to sit, as if to reassure me of the elite normalcy of that type of behavior. After I returned to Michigan from Zorro Ranch, I was contacted by one of Jeffrey Epstein's assistants and invited to Epstein's Island, where I was told Prince Andrew, among others, would be a guest. I declined the invitation out of fear. I had only experienced a glimpse of Jeffrey Epstein's world, but it left me with residual trauma which seriously impacted the trajectory of my life from that moment on. I know a considerable amount of information regarding Epstein's international child sex trafficking ring has already been released to the public. And I'm here today to ask that when you hear about more of the crimes committed against me and other victims, that you don't stop at feeling sorry or bad for us, but that you feel angry. Jeffrey Epstein was only a small part of an insidious system of privilege that exploits children as sexual commodities and robs them of their youth. It was clear from the time I spent with Epstein that something was very wrong with his lifestyle, and it didn't take a victim to see that. We were not hidden. It is upsetting to me to think that anyone who was closely associated with Jeffrey Epstein might argue that they didn't suspect that he might have been sexually abusing children. Epstein wielded great villainous power in his ability to make his victims feel shame of their backgrounds, to the point where we felt grateful of any attention or invitation into his inner billionaire playground, no matter the trauma it brought upon us. I left Zorro Ranch with a deep sense of shame, not just a shame of him having sexually abused me, but the shame of knowing that I had somehow been submission far more than his physical strength. I'm here today to clarify my position in a corrupt system that I have not trusted to punish its own. My hope is that this case and the resulting public discourse will help me to take back some of the power and self-esteem I lost as a victim of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. For the past 16 years, I have felt isolated in my experience, and the lack of consequences for Epstein's actions has left me feeling as though there is no justice for me here. This case has brought me hope that there are people who are able and willing to speak, and the fact that this is not over. I would also like to say that I agree with Gloria that Prince Andrew and any others who are close to Epstein should come forward and give a statement under oath on what information they have. All the information pertaining to and around this case is important. Just because Epstein is dead does not mean that others around him don't deserve their day in court as well. Thank you. Thanks.
The photo is of Jeffrey Epstein and Tila Davies. It is Tila's first time on a helicopter. They are flying over the United States Virgin Islands. She is smiling because she did not yet realize that he had a predatory plan for her. And she gives permission for you to use that photo. And now I present Tila. Move over a little, please.
Thank you for coming today. My name is Tila Davies. Okay. There are so many people in this world, so many stories. You look at all the people around you, and it's easy to forget that everyone has a lifetime of memory, a lifetime of memories they walk with. You never know who you are sitting next to, what they have been through, or what they might be going through. I am only one of so many silenced victims out there. Past, present, and future victims. Victims that feel they have no voice and that are trying to ignore and suppress their horrific memories and their horrific truths for fear of not being believed or heard. I am here, and I am ready to be heard. I am here to set an example and inspire all victims of sexual abuse to conquer their fear and tell someone. It's not only cleansing, but you will be heard, and people will listen. I am here for them. I was only 17. I was the perfect victim. I was on my own, and I needed help. Jeffrey Epstein preyed upon me. He put me in a vulnerable and dependent situation and took advantage of me. I was only 17 years old. I was a little girl. It took me a long time to break free from his mind control and abuse. It wasn't a clean break either. I still have flashbacks. It still hurts. And like I said, I am still scared. I am healing from this every day. This complaint that I filed today is a part of that healing. As we all know, Jeffrey Epstein will never serve the time he needed to serve. Time that he could have used to reflect, realize, and regret what he has done to so many innocent young girls. I would have liked him to realize that his actions still affect and haunt his victims to this day and beyond this day. For many of his victims, he has disabled their ability to receive intimacy and their ability to receive love. For some, he has disabled their ability to trust. Predators like Jeffrey Epstein have such a negative effect on so many innocent girls and boys' lives. For me and some of the other victims, we have to carry these terrible memories for the rest of our lives, knowing Jeffrey Epstein will never think about us again and will never suffer the consequences of his crimes against us. Thank you.